And we're back again. It's your friendly neighborhood film watchers. It's Frankly Football. We back in here. Of course, I'm your humble host, Brandon, and I got my guy with me.
Man, what's up, BH, man? Busy week. We've been trying to put some things together, man. And, man, things have been cracking around the league, man. We did a video earlier this week. We were talking about Carson Wentz and things of that nature. But I got perplexed in the middle of the day, man. And when I've got a burning football question, I got to call you, man. And,
Of
um,
course.
and because, you're my therapist, you charge by the hour. You got me off of this feeling about how the whole world has this feeling that the Cowboys would be honored if they were to ship off their on the rise young stud quarterback for a very good older quarterback. In my case in point is the Rain Dakota Prescott talk and Russell Wilson talk, man. Tell me how you feel, champ.
So I feel like this, man. Let me preface this by saying I like Russell Wilson. I think that he is a good quarterback. But
Hmm.
why would I take someone who has currently peaked and whether or not they're still in their peak, many people will decide. But why would I take that person over someone who is at best only a hair's length worse, 6 years younger, and it remains to be seen whether he has peaked while still currently being a hair worse at best.
When you look at what the pundits are saying, they're like,
Mhm.
hey, and because we are in a production win now league, I think the things that happened with this past year that happened with the Buccaneers make everybody think, well, let's go all in now. I mean, you got several teams right now that are sitting there saying, hey, let's go all in. The Rams, they don't have a draft pick until first round draft pick until 2020, what, 24, 25.
Give or take,
Yeah, give or take.
they don't seem to
Everybody,
value him.
right. So when people say let's win now, and the Cowboys have been in a build team building process, it makes you think, okay, why not go all in with Russell Wilson? Which I will also preface, I think is an amazing guy, a great quarterback.
Yep,
Yet he's not. I'm gonna take what you shared with me earlier today. He's great, just not for me.
exactly. Absolutely. That's how I feel. I think that a lot of teams would be happy to have Russell Wilson. But thankfully, I don't have to be one of them because I already have my quarterback and I'm working on securing him long term.
Absolutely, man. And I think if you do a move like that, I don't. I think you may get the talent that the rest of the league will say is great, and he's a great quarterback. But I think it will destroy your locker room and your team and the vibe that your team has because um, Rain is the leader of this football team. As he goes, they go. He's been able to bond with those guys. And if you turn around and take the guy who's been stellar in the community, grown every year on the field, hasn't had a losing season yet, and then say, hey, I don't want to pay him. I'm going to trade him away. What does that say to the rest of your football team?
It says that anybody can go. If
Mm,
your alleged leader can get
right,
shipped off
right,
at the drop of a hat, what does that say about guys who are in the middle of the roster or at the bottom of the roster?
right. Yeah, there's
Um,
no. Mhm.
so I've been thinking a little bit.
Okay, okay.
One
Here
of my
we go.
things is I kind of rub my head while I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
I was gonna
So
say when you start rubbing them butters, man, it's about to be some smoke.
so some people may call Dak injury prone or ask the question, how will he come back from his injury? I've broken 11 bones.
Mm.
I'm a little brittle. Um,
Well, I wouldn't say brittle, bro. Probably
hey
the
man,
situations around you cause you to be
yeah,
in a place where you might have become more susceptible to injury. Brittle
a
don't
few of
sound like
them.
you're not Mr. Glass.
No, not quite, not quite. Quite a few of them
Okay,
more sports related.
okay.
Um, so a broken bone is a little different. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I broke my finger. I'm not sure if you can see, but this finger
Yeah,
will
I
bend
can see it.
backwards.
Yeah, I can see
Um,
that.
when this bone heals, although it performs a little different, it is healed. It doesn't ache. It doesn't
Right,
make me write different or anything
right,
like that. The same
right.
thing with my left ankle. I can
Okay.
walk on it just fine. It's none of those injuries are like a neck, a back,
Right.
an
A
ACL.
knee. A knee.
Yeah,
Right, right.
when those sort of things get injured, there's a process, and it will always have some sort of inhibition on your lifestyle moving forward. A broken
Okay.
bone isn't like that.
Right.
Once that bone's healed, it is healed.
Mm-hmm.
So like we talked earlier today, Dak Prescott had his surgery. They let him rehab a little bit, and then they went back in and say, you know what, let's clean up some of this cartilage, some of these
Mm-hmm.
spurs, so that you
Right.
don't have any of those quality of life differences.
Right.
And after he is healed and rehab, because your muscles wear down a little bit because you're not putting the weight on it as much. So after you train yourself back to where your muscles feel normal again, that's it. That's the process.
I mean, that's the exact process of any person who heals. You've broken
Yes.
11 bones. I think I've sprained my ankle at least 8 to 9 times. Sometimes they say it would have been better if I had broken my ankle. I
Yeah.
beg to differ because the sprain hurt just as bad. So I wouldn't know. But that's what they're doing now. We have modern science, technology, modern science and modern medicine. That if a person ends up injuring themselves, they go back in. They go try to set the bone as soon as possible to start
Yes.
the healing process. And then after some of the swelling and inflammation goes down, they go back in, clean up different areas so you don't have to worry about that. It is so much different from the time when Kellen Winslow blew out his knee and ended his career up to
Yes.
the time when Grant Hill had his horrific dealings with his ankle, which shortened and derailed a great portion of his career, to
Yes.
now where you have, in recent history, the Adrian Peterson coming back a year after and having a 2,000-yard season after having ACL surgery, to just so many people coming back. I mean, and they say having his ankle be broken is better than a high ankle sprain. We've seen guys
In
get a
some
high
cases.
ankle sprain and be out, 8 weeks and never really come back. So I think him getting hurt when he got hurt, having the surgery, having the time to heal, rehab, and get to this point, I think he's going to be absolutely better than ever. But the word being durable, or this being something to the point that he can never function at the level he was, if not better, is false. It's a terrible narrative. But it's
Yes.
always the thing when negotiations go on with Rain or with players in Dallas. Just not with him. We can go back. Everything that's bad in your life when it comes to you getting your money comes up in Dallas.
Of course. Of
To,
course.
to, to, to,
And one of the things that we got to remember, there were what, three, maybe four other teams that Russell Wilson, uh, he didn't come out and demand a trade, but he did one of those. Well, if I were traded, I'd want to go these
right,
places.
right. Oh no,
Um,
no, I
there
don't
were
want to be traded. But if I were to be traded, I want to
yeah,
go here. Right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So there were three or four other teams that he uh requested to go to. Um, I'm in progress of pulling up one those teams, but it
It's
was,
the
of
Los.
course, the Cowboys,
It was the
the
Cowboys,
Raiders,
the
the
Raiders,
Saints,
the
and
Saints,
let's
the
see, I have to get the
the
other one,
Bears,
and the
the
Bears.
Bears. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you notice, none of those other teams are being put on the spotlight like this. Even though one of them has one of the greatest quarterbacks in history, in my opinion, in Drew Brees.
Right. I
But no
mean,
one's talking about their guys potentially being replaced.
I think during this dead season, which is always, the four-letter networks, the two-letter, one-number network, and things like that, they got to be able to get clicks. So you can't say, "Hey, he wants to go to the Bears," and that be something anybody cares about. You can't really say, "Hey, Are we going to go away from Drew Brees, knowing that the money isn't there uh, for the Saints with their cap situation to go there? Even with the Raiders, what they do. But I mean, with Dallas, it makes the storyline good because the problem is no one's understanding why this negotiation hasn't gone forward. And I think what people have yet to do, they're continuously pointing at Rain, but they're not looking at his agent. Todd France didn't just have one guy not get signed during their get done year and got franchise tag. He had two that we know of. I think he ultimately had three, but he had Justin Simmons, the free safety that you love out of Denver, get
Yes.
franchise tag. Rain got franchise tag, and I'm not sure who the other player is. So it's really on Todd France to go ahead and bring these contracts home, not just for Rain, but for also the other guys that he represents, because he's promised his new agency that he would do that he could deliver.
So, in my opinion, Todd France is the enemy, man. That's probably the easiest way to say it.
Easy.
I think that his thing, and if you notice, this is kind of common between a lot of his clients at this point. A lot of his big name clients got the tag. He's one of those guys that I think plays real hardball, and probably pushes it the extra step past where it needs to go. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that's been a common theme between a lot of his clients is that he might be the hang up. Although I do not recommend this. Dak may have to, like, I guess, hear some of the talks and I guess be a voice of reason. I don't recommend it because I think that's what agents are for. But what do you do?
I mean, when you get to a point where you don't want to negotiate in the media, that's the first thing, which you haven't heard him say anything. You've heard Tad say stuff. You've heard everyone else speak on it, but you haven't heard him speak on it. He said he wants to be respected and compensated as such, and
Yes.
he's in the wheelhouse to have that done. The problem is no one has ever heard a number that Rain has said, "Hey, I'm worth this." The thing is, more than anything, they're offering him a contract. It wasn't like they didn't offer him a contract at all. They want him. We're just trying to bang out these numbers. But I can also see where him wanting to have the ability to renegotiate it again in a shorter period of time. I also see the Cowboys' mindset of let's be able to push triggers in this thing and push it out if we have to be able to get more players underneath to help you. I just ultimately believe that this thing gets done before March 9th. It gets done before March 9th. We have him signed so we can take a deep dive or take a dive at one or two players, maybe 2, 3 players in free agency and make some substantial upgrades to our football team.
So, yeah, I'm glad that he's getting the contract offers. That kind of eliminates a lot of the media chatter that the Cowboys don't necessarily want him. They want him, but Jerry Jones he likes to wheel and deal. He shoot dice in the bathroom.
Oh yeah, he's the king of that. He brings his own dice. You got to watch him.
You know it. But I think that, and you've seen this with a few players. What may have to happen is one of those situations like, okay, yeah, well, and this is Dak's party speaking. Okay, yeah, give me the 5-year deal, but after 3 years, let's just go ahead and rip it up and just do a new one. So that it's kind of like it's one of those everybody wins situations.
I think you could do something like that. I definitely think you can do something like that. I also believe you can. I'm not saying finesse the deal, but I think Jerry's milking this thing for all the publicity he can get.
Of course.
And I don't think he's caring what the outside world saying. Oh, is it taking us too long to do this, that, and the other? I definitely don't believe he wants to go into this year with Rain on a franchise tag, because then he really knows by the draft that number 10 pick is going to have to be a quarterback. and I don't think he wants to do that.
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think that the number 10 pick has to be a quarterback this year. Um,
Okay.
I think that it's one of those situations where if Dak is on the tag, you probably start that rebuilding process in 2022. Um, and I think that just because you got to look at the board. Um, your fourth, fifth quarterback probably nowhere near as high up your board as, let's say, one of these premier defensive talents or offensive linemen. So it doesn't make sense for your board to do that.
It doesn't make sense for us to be sitting here, at 10 o'clock at night talking about why our young studly quarterback isn't signed. That doesn't
Oh
make
yeah,
sense. So
oh yeah, sign
anything,
my quarterback all day long.
right? So
Let's not be.
everything is on the table with at 10 if we don't have this resolved by the time the draft gets here.
Hmm.
Any and everything is because you have lost the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. There's no way you can let him play the entire 2021 season and then turn around and say, "Oh, okay, we're just gonna dibble and dabble in the draft, or go get somebody in free agent that's gonna be better than him." When you have an opportunity to put a stranglehold on this defense, on this division, and get into the playoffs, of the place where you want to be from years and years to come.
So in that case, then the first day is on April 29th. Does that mean that that's your deadline to try to get the deal done then? So that you don't consider taking quarterback at all, like early anyway? Um,
Your drop dead date for me. I don't believe that you can play this game. Oh, we'll just franchise tag them and they'll give us more time to negotiate. That ship has sailed. Can't do that anymore. You have to be in the mindset of saying, hey, we're gonna go ahead. If he doesn't sign, if we don't get this done, and we decide to put the tag on him, we gotta be thinking about sign and trade and going to get moving up and going to get a quarterback.
hmm.
which will
Interesting.
which
Interesting.
which will which will drive me crazy because I think you're so close to getting where you really want to get right now. If you just sign him, it makes everything else easier for you. He makes the whole equation easy for you if you just sign him.
Hmm. Dak, my quarterback, man.
Well,
I think that's.
Rain's always been my quarterback. I really this is my belief, and we'll be able to break
Mhm.
this down even more. I don't think that your defense has to be totally rebuilt. I think you're really three pieces away, and you can really wreck shop. I mean, you can make a real playoff run with three pieces to this defense.
I
And
think
we've
so.
talked
I
about
agree.
it. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Well, not ad nauseum, but we've talked about it in depthly amongst ourselves. And if you've listened to any content on YouTube and not listen to guys on ESPN or wherever else, uh, I'm sorry, my battery's about to die on me. Uh, you will
Yeah, plug that thing
find
up.
out, yeah, man, that hey, you're not as far off as you think you are. You may not like certain pieces a whole lot on this team, but I don't think you're as devoid of talent as the bottom of the league ranking would make you believe.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that we haven't quite talked ad nauseum about it yet. That's why we're here now.
That's right,
So
baby.
so at pick 10, ideally, let me preface this once again.
Okay.
My ideal scenario is to trade back and get another second, maybe even another third round pick. Um, but in the event that we are not able to do so at pick 10,
Mm-hmm.
who are the guys that you would take and your stomach wouldn't hurt?
Okay. Well, just so you know, I'm Omar's good-looking cousin from uh from Ozark. So I'm all about trying to get my brick and put something on it. So I
You
want
know
to
it.
trade down without question. The meat of this draft, if we've looked at it, it's a deep run on cornerbacks. I mean, me and you have right now six draftable corners. Six draftable corners. It's short on rangy free safeties because we truly only believe there's three of those. Um, it's short on premier defensive tackles. Um, but they've got some linebackers here. So at 10, my situation, if I can't trade back, and if Rashawn Slater is not on the board, I would go draft JOK, Jamusu, get it from JOK out of
Jeremiah Owusu Koromor.
Koromor. There you go.
Yeah.
I would go get him out of Notre Dame, make him my will linebacker, move Leighton Vander Esch back to middle linebacker, and run that out. I would not hurt. It wouldn't bother me at all.
So I just did a little count in my head, right? And it's 5 guys that I would take at 10, and I would be okay with it. I would be okay with it. Of course, Rashawn Slater's one. Of course. I think that
he's my pick at 10. He's number one guy for me at 10.
But if he isn't available, and this isn't in order of my preference or anything, I'm just naming them off at the top of my head. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Caleb Farley and JC.
You are? Okay.
In that order. That's my corners 1 and 2.
Okay, right.
Next, of course, I think JOK would be a great linebacker. I think that he might have to play will, in order to be fully utilized. But I'd take Nick Bolton at 10, and I'd be happy with it. I'd be happy with Nick Bolton at 10. To some people, that might be a reach, but to me, I think that by early April, he's going to be talked about in that top 15 range. And I've been saying that since Christmas time.
Since Christmas. Okay. At 10, I'd be like, it depends on who was left on the board. If it was JOK and him, I'm taking JOK. Now at 15, I'm loving Nick Bolton. Okay? I'm loving Nick Bolton at 15. I'm of the corners that you named, I like what Caleb Farley is. I preferably right now, I'm a Kelvin Joseph fan, because of one, I don't have a dog in my secondary. I don't have a real full-fledged gun under the seat, eating sushi off a naked woman, having a small giraffe and a baby dolphin in his bathtub kind of guy on my football team. And I need that in my life. I need that kind of gangster.
Chris, you want a team full of criminals. That's what you see, Chris, Calvin Joseph just want to choke out his coach every now and then. And I kind of see it like this. I kind of see it like this.
He doesn't choke him. He's making sure he's got a proper airway. I need that.
Wow.
I need that. Because listen, my thing is we don't know what the coach said to young Kelvin that made him choke him out. See, we always put that on the player. Oh, he lost control and choked him out. We still don't know what PJ Carlesimo said to Latrell Sprewell that got him choked out that day. To this day.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, maybe he did it because he wants something to rap about. I don't know.
I mean, hey, listen, man. Hey, man. Hey, listen. You probably had to put in the lyrics. You had a little spit, a little something. All I'm saying is this. I have drafted the right type of guy for the last 10 years. I got the right type of guy when I went and got Byron Jones, okay? I got the right type of guy when I went and got DeMarcus Lawrence, right? I went and got the right type of guy when I got Tyrone Crawford, right? I've always got the right type of guy. Hey, man, in the immortal words of Eddie Murphy and a vampire in Brooklyn, evil is good, okay? Evil is good. I need a guy that's got a little bit of dog in him, so I can match him up with Trayvon Diggs, who's also got some dog. He's a nice guy. He's got the NFL background. He's gonna compete. I put Kelvin on one side, put Trayvon on the other side. I got Donovan Wilson who want to knock somebody's head off. And, maybe in the 4th round, people overlook some people, they don't realize that HB 2.0 is sitting there. I can slide him because he's a high energy, high effort guy. I'm speaking of the young talented Darius Washington out of
Of course,
TCU. I
of
drop
course,
him
of course.
because he is coming up the boards as being safety one for a lot of people. He's already been safety one for Brandon since Santa Claus was going through town.
You know,
So if you put a gun under the seat guy, a guy who hadn't got paid, who want to fight like crazy back there like Donovan Wilson. You turn around, take a try hard guy like our Darius Washington, and then you take a guy like Trayvon Diggs who's got the pedigree, background, and want to compete. And listen, man, it ain't got to be the Legion of Boom, but it's gonna be a daggum good secondary that you're dealing with when you're dealing with them four guys coming out there.
so I kind of think about this. Um, a lot of the league probably feels the same way that I do, in
Okay.
that they don't want to have to pay workman's comp for their coach. And they generally care about people's lives. So I think that is probably what's going to keep Kelvin Joseph down on a lot of people's boards. So even though he's my corner three right now, just based purely off of skill. I'm not talking about what he does in his own personal time and stuff. In regards to his skill as a corner, he
Mm-hmm.
is my corner three.
So let me ask you a question.
But
Let me ask you before you go any further. Let me ask you a question.
okay.
When you now we worry about him choking people. When Marcus Peters came out,
Hmm.
Marcus Peters probably didn't want to be a rapper, but Marcus Peters might choke a coach. But
He
did that
did.
negate? Yeah, right. So, but did that negate the fact of the matter that Marcus Peters was the best corner in that draft?
See, this was before I really watched film like that. I just
Mm-hmm.
watched the draft because it was something to do at
Right,
that point in
right,
time in my life,
right, right,
right?
right.
So I didn't even know about Marcus Peters choking out his coach. We
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
Kelvin Joseph wanting to. Marcus Peters is somebody that actually did it. That's why we're talking
Right,
about it.
right, right,
You know,
right,
look,
right.
look, 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 look. Kelvin Joseph made it a hot rap. Marcus Peters made it a hot song. To quote my guy.
It was a
To quote
hot
my
line. Yeah,
guy.
he made it on. Yeah,
Yeah, he
okay.
made it a hot song.
Right. Okay.
So, uh, man, it's tough, man. It's
Listen,
tough.
man. Hey, listen, man. I believe young Kelvin is like Biggie, man. You know,
Mhm.
give me the loot, man. I want him because I need a cat that's ready to, lace up your boots because I'm about to shoot. I need a cat like that that's gonna go out there, lock people up, and his skill and nuance is to the point you
Yeah,
can put him
absolutely.
on the field day one, and that's
Yeah.
what we got to come out of this draft with. We got to come out with at least three day one ready go starters for that defense. So if I'm lying, I don't want to have to sit up and groom him, and he has to catch up with the speed of the game. He's going to do a lot of that, some of that, but I think he can start day one. And so if I'm trying to go and win now and put a quote unquote stranglehold on this division, I try.
I see what you did there.
You like that, right? I go get I go get my dog opposite of Trevor Diggs, and I go get that cat. If
Mm,
I can't at 10, if I can't trade back, which I want to trade back with everything inside of me, and if Rashawn
mhm.
Slater isn't on the board, yeah, I'm trying to bang 4 to 5 players on day two.
I'd love
Four
it.
to five.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
As it stands right now, we're picking 3 times in day two.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, picking 5 times in day two. With an extra second and an extra third
It's a
would be
third.
ideal. That'll be ideal.
Yes.
And that'll probably necessitate trading down to about 19. Well, my desired range is to
Right.
be right around 16, but
Right.
depending on the way that the picks fall, because I think that's going to be a major factor in the value of pick 10. How many quarterbacks go, for example, how many of those great wide receivers are left? If Kyle Pitts is
Mm.
there, um,
Mm.
that's going to be one of those things that causes some inflation to happen on pick 10. Um,
Yeah, and I think people get a little desperate if one of those the wide receivers will get going. I don't think. Oh, I think those three wide receivers that are up there, because I kind of put four wide receivers including Pitts. Um,
mhm.
they'll be going by 16. So if I like you said, 16 is the ideal round. Pick 16 is the ideal number. If I can get down to 16, then I have the whole board to do whatever I want to.
So speaking on Kyle Pitts, I went on a little rant today
Hmm.
on Twitter, because Twitter is the only like that's my main medium to talk about football and stuff. I only
Okay.
have football
Okay.
related things on Twitter.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
It gets rid of some of the clutter, keeps the view clear, right? So
Right.
I was looking, and in the past 6 years, the only tight ends that have been taken in the first round were T.J.
T.J.
Hawkinson,
Hawkinson and Noah Fant.
Hayden Hurst,
What's Noah Fant?
Noah
Uh-huh.
Fant. Hayden Hurst
Right.
was 2018.
Right.
And then you have Evan Ingram, O.J. Howard, and crap, I can't remember the last guy's name. But there were only six in the past 6 years, and three of them were in 1 year.
Okay.
Now you compare that to their peers, constituents, whatever word you want to use,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the difference in skill that large that you would ever consider taking a tight end in the first round, when historically there have been late day two and day three guys that have been the premier guys, so to speak.
Well, let's look at it this way. The best that we've ever seen do it, right? Was he a first rounder? Was
Uh,
Was Gonzalez a first rounder?
no,
Okay. So the next guy after him, right, was
okay,
Antonio Gates, right? He wasn't a
yes,
first rounder, right?
no, I
Um,
was.
no, Gates wasn't a
I'm
first
trying to think.
rounder.
I'm trying
He
to think
wasn't.
when he was even drafted.
Right. Um, a guy who's a bona fide Hall of Famer when he retires again, Rob Gronkowski. I think Rob Gronkowski was what third or fourth rounder.
Uh, he was a second rounder,
He
early
was
second. Yeah, early
okay.
second. He was
Okay.
like pick 40
So
or something like that.
they got him before they got Hernandez.
Yes, same draft.
Okay. Okay.
Hernandez
Same
was a
draft.
fourth
Okay.
round pick.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, Kelsey was a Kelsey was a fourth or fifth rounder.
Yes.
Okay. Kelsey was fourth, fifth rounder.
Kittle was a fifth.
Kittle was a fifth. So this fascination with having a matchup guy is what everybody wants to be able to do. I just find it harder for an inline guy to get as many matchups that would warrant him being a first round pick. I mean, TJ Hawkinson is a fine football player. I think he's a really good football player. He put a lot of good film, and he can block. That's great. Um, but the guy who puts the satin on the panties, the guy who likes to show up, man, was a guy who got kicked off. He got kicked off his football team, and they allowed him to come back, and he was a fourth or
David
fifth
and
rounder.
Joku. That was the
Huh?
third guy that year.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay,
it just popped up.
okay,
David and Joku.
right. So I mean, all these guys you named, yeah, are they talents? Yes. Are they all physical phenomenons? Absolutely. Have any of them really produced to the point you say I should have taken them in the first round? Absolutely not. I mean, we
No,
could argue that Everett Ingram wasn't better than Dalton Schultz this past year.
it could
We
be
can
definitely
argue
argued.
he wasn't better than Thomason, the tight end for Green Bay. He had
Hmm.
double-digit touchdowns. So, listen, I am not a huge Kyle Pitts fan for my team, especially not a tight end. So listen, man, let the chips fall. This is what I do know. Kyle Pitts isn't for my team, and there are a lot of terrible drafting football teams in the NFL that will take Kyle Pitts early or want
Yes.
him for that 10th pick in the draft, which will give me what I want on day 2 and day 3.
So you remember the whole Noah Brown conversation where for a while prior to this year, because this was kind of like his quote unquote blow up year.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when a lot of people were saying, "Hey, why don't you try Noah Brown at tight end?" since he likes to block so much, and he's not the greatest at receiver things, stuff like that. And I was one of the people that said that second line, by the way. But
Right.
so
Yeah, I was like, where the heck? Oh, I know where I heard that at. Yeah. Yeah.
so one of the things that like these new age tight ends are like coveted for is their receiving ability.
Right.
Obviously, you can't teach genetics, so they're also going to be wanting to have the bigger bodies. What is stopping you from like day three, hunting for just the biggest bodies at receiver? And this is just purely draft talk. We're not talking Cowboys here. What's stopping these teams from just getting the biggest bodies just
Mm-hmm.
to try them out at the position?
Um, One, if you're talking about like on day three, like maybe a fifth, maybe that fourth and fifth round, let me go get a big receiver because sometimes when they're that big, they are projects. But
Yeah.
but in the NFL, they don't have the time that a guy who's been in college, he's been a jump ball receiver, or he's just been a big receiver his whole time to turn around and say, hey, we're going to put you inside and make you a blocker because on day three, those guys are used to be blockers. They need to refine a skill to be able to stay on the team and be able to still go down and tackle people on special teams. If I'm going to do that, and I mean, most teams have a Noah Brown type. Most teams have uh, um, a, a Cole Beasley type. Most teams have their version of that, and I don't think they want to waste that pick for a guy they're just trying to develop.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
I understand, but I think that with the whole COVID protocols thing, the enhanced practice squad and stuff like that, and the slightly larger roster size, two spaces, but um, I think that it allows you to be a little bit more free with your talent evaluation. Um, so you can take a flyer out on an additional guy just to kick the tires per se.
I don't think it's like it's been in the past. I think with the COVID protocol, with people, you're not having the ability to have the OTAs, then you can't bring so many guys in. I mean, I think one of the things Dallas you thrived on, and probably some other teams thrive on, is that team's inner city day to bring people who are from the area back to the area to just try out or let them see them. And I think that gives them an opportunity for those younger guys who they might want to take a flyer on to get looked at and say, hey, we can use him, or we can draft him later. So I mean, I'm not a huge fan of just right now this year for us
Yeah,
or for us just taking a flyer on any kind of receiver.
yeah, of
We
course not, of
haven't
course
even
not.
started looking at any
This
receivers
this is
yet.
purely draft related,
Yeah,
purely
yeah,
draft
yeah.
related.
And so, like, I mean, for every Chris Restry you find, you'll turn around and you'll find a Noah Brown. So I mean, it's just a luck of the draw.
Of course, of course. Um, so another guy that you mentioned, and this is kind of like a reflection moment, I guess. You mentioned our Darius Washington. So I watch a lot of film. I just watch it to pass time. Um, I've watched in the upwards of 70 defensive players. I haven't touched
Mm,
offense yet. I don't think that
mm,
I've gotten as excited of
okay.
while watching any of these other defensive players as I have our Darius Washington.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I'll say that proudly. I've been high on him since the day that I watched him. I'm talking edge of my seat type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now that does not mean that I don't like any of these guys. There are a few guys that I may even have rated over him. And these are guys that I wasn't as edge of my seat feeling when I watched. Um, but I'm one of those people that I kind of draft based off of like or I rank and slot guys in based off of how their tape stands out to me.
Okay.
Um And so I was watching one of these guys that a lot of people are high on, Aaron Robinson, another
Yeah,
UCF guy.
out of UCF, right?
Yeah,
Everybody, yeah.
I don't understand why people are high on him. I grimaced while watching this tape.
Did you
Um,
yawn? Did you yawn?
no, I usually don't yawn because I kind of watch intently. Um, but it's almost like you smell something bad. I'm kind of like,
Oh, oh,
that's the
you
face that I
you
make.
you gave him the blue ivy face. You gave him the blue
Yeah,
ivy face.
yeah,
Oh,
it was oof.
oh,
Um,
okay.
so and this is why we're on the subject of cornerback, by the way. Um, Aaron Robinson is one of those guys that I'm not sure if he's draftable.
Wait a minute.
And
Hold on. That's
a lot
that's
of people
that's.
have him kind of slided in the second round.
I mean,
Um,
you've only given that moniker to two guys. You got your
only one,
third.
only one.
No, no.
I said that Javon Holland is draftable. He's
Okay.
draftable, just not that
No,
high.
no, no, sir. No, sir. Let the record show. You said that Paris Ford is
Yeah,
undraftable,
100%.
right? And you also said Rousseau is undraftable.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Um, I rescind my comment if it will please the court. So I was watching Aaron Robinson, right?
Okay.
And yeah, as a corner, I don't think he does corner things well. The things that I think he does well is he'll go and tackle people and he'll blitz. So he'll be like a nickel, corner blitz type guy and a special teamer.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's his NFL life.
Mm.
That's those are the things that he did well. He looked confused in coverage when he did even cover remotely well. Um, and yeah, man, he just looks sloppy. So I'm one of those guys. I don't, and a few people have him ranked a bit higher. Like I was listening to Jeff Kavanaugh talk, and
Hmm.
he kind of likes him. He kind of likes him, and it confuses me. I kind of
Mm.
need an explanation.
Okay.
Um, because he doesn't seem like a player that I would provide a dedicated role to on my defense.
Mm.
Um, like I said, at best, special teamer and corner blitz guy. Have you managed to watch any Aaron Robinson? How do you feel on him, Chris?
I I've glimpsed at him, but I was so busy watching Richie Grant stuff that I kind of saw him over there, but I was just amazed at what I saw with Richie Grant, and I just felt like he kind of played off. He was very physical. He's a very
Hmm.
sure tackler. He likes to
Yep.
bang. He does like to bang into people. But I think when you play with a premier talent like that, I think it kind of covers up some of the things that he does do well. I think that's one of the reasons why uh, Morrig, the safety out of TCU, gets a lot more praise than he actually deserves because
Hmm.
Ardarius does. Ardarius is now okay.
Hmm.
I'm gonna use this analogy. I'm gonna work with this. When you have a guy who does so much on the floor, right?
Okay.
I play basketball. So when you got a guy who's a
Yeah.
guy who goes out, he rebounds, he steals, he scores, and there's another guy on the team. Well, he may go out there, he may score, but he may cherry pick. He may get a steal, but the ball may just bounce directly to him. It takes away from the fact of the matter that the guy he hoovers everything else that you see the other guy and you think he's playing just as well.
Okay.
I think that's the exact thing that's going on with Moring, and you see the size, you see see the traits, you see the size, you see those different things. You say, oh, he's really the guy, but deep down inside, it's not him. It's the other kid. I think that's the same thing that's happened with your man and Richie Grant because I think Richie does so
Hmm.
much stuff so well. He covers up so many different things that he looks like he's the attribute of that. I give you a perfect example. When Jeff Okuda came out last year, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Oh, he's the best corner in the draft." This, that, and the other thing. Yeah, David Arquette on the opposite side of him. And I thought Damien Arquette was just as good.
Possibly,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of those spotlight situations. Just because the light is so high on this guy,
There you go.
some of the residual light goes on the people beside him. I definitely
Right.
understand.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely understand. I'm gonna definitely have to reach out to some people and demand an explanation though.
No, demand that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've been here for a little while, man. We got about 40, 45 minutes in. I ain't want
Hey
to take
man,
up too much of your time.
that's perfect, man. I'm gonna tell you something, man. We want to thank everybody, man, who's been on this journey with us, man. We're trying to climb this thing. We're trying to really get our name out here. And I know with my busy life and man, Brandon being the guy that he is, man, we really appreciate everybody that comments and has subscribed, man. We're up to like we're almost at 220, man. 220 people who subscribe with us,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's huge for us. And I know people are like, well, that's nothing. But for coming from where we come from, and our background and how we put this thing together, we greatly appreciate everybody. But as Brendan always says, if you've been this long with us, you got to hit the like button. If you see what we've been talking about, and you think we bring a little value to the conversation, make sure you share with your friends, and make sure you subscribe. But also leave comments, man, so we can reach back out to you. Want to give a shout out to Uncle Charlie for giving us some love out there on our last video, man. AJ, our main dog, who always gives us love, man, and shouts us out every time and watches us. But listen, man, we are drawing closer and closer to the draft. And as we draw closer, we're going to bear down on some people. So leave in the comments somebody you'd like for me and Brandon to take a look at and give us an idea where you think it fits in with the Cowboys. And we're going to come back. We'll also be coming back soon and talk about the most important free agents that we need to pick up in this upcoming free agency period, when we want to get them, and if we want to spend a lot of money on them.
That's right. So, in the meantime, of course, I'm Brandon, and that's my guy.
Man, I'm setting it off, Chris, man. This is Frankly Football, baby.
Peace.